sportivo numero 85 e Hendrik.
Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to Mugello. I would like to say that the sun always shines here, but so far, it's been something of a torrid, wet weather few days. This is our Europe 2023 calendar, of which we reach the conclusion right now at the Finale Mondiali here in Mugello. What a season we have had. It has been awesome racing from Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo, Pirelli, and we are very much expecting that to continue across the two final championship races today and tomorrow, and then, of course, the Finale Mondiali World Final event on Sunday. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. We would love you to be part of our Prancing Horse family and to enjoy all the action that we can bring you. As you can see, a bit of low cloud around, and the air temperature is currently 17 degrees. 15 degrees is the track temperature. Just a little bit of wind floating around there as well. Now, we, of course, are in our air-conditioned, heated, and very dry studio without those luxuries down there on the hallowed tarmac of this 5.245-kilometer circuit is Ludovica. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the grid of Mugello circuit. There is a great atmosphere for this race one of Trofeo Pirelli. And I'm here with a new protagonist of this race, because today Mohamed Hamdi starts from the top 10. This is the second top 10 after Valencia for you, Mohamed, and maybe the best result in this season. You start from the 6th position. So congratulations. What do you expect from this race? And can you tell us more about the management of the tires for today?
The management of the tires? Well, I'm very happy that I'm starting in pole position. It's my first time. Finally, I got my team and I got the car in the best condition possible. We're starting with wet tires. We have a pressure of 1.7 now. And the rain, I like the rain. I like racing in the rain. It's very fun. And hopefully I finish the race in P1. And yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good race.
Happy to see you.
Okay, guys, continue our journey into the grid of race one of Trofeo Pirelli. After Spa-Francorchamps, Franz Hengstler was crowned champion of Pirelli Am. But in this moment, there is another trophy to conquer, the trophy of Pirelli. And there is already an open battle between two young drivers, Eliseo Donno and Thomas Fleming. Thomas Fleming today started from the pole position with 1 second of the gap between Eliseo, and this will be an important race for both drivers. And Thomas, I've told before, with one of the members of his team, is relaxed and very confident with this track and this weather condition. And as you can see, where there is the turns of Buccine, there is a lot of sun. So we hope that this race will change for the weather condition. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Ludo. Yeah, the conditions are such that it's not raining at the moment, but there's a lot of standing water around. So we are anticipating all the drivers starting on wet weather tyres because effectively it's a 30-minute sprint race, never going to dry out, I would have suggested, within the 30 minutes. Back to the championship battle in Trofeo Pirelli. Tom Fleming is the driver, of course, that he's behind Alessio Donno. I'll give you the point situation in just a moment because I think Ludovica has managed to catch up with Tom. Apparently, she hasn't. Well, here is the situation. In as far as I am aware, basically, the long and the short of it is that Tom Fleming has got to be at least a point ahead of Alessio Donno in terms of the results today for the championship to go to tomorrow, because there is a margin between them at the moment, and with the points that are up for grabs, I mean, Tom has done a brilliant job in terms of qualifying because unusually for this event, it's the fastest lap and the second fastest lap, which sets the qualifying grid for races 1 and 2, and he achieved both of those, so he gains 2 points for that. And as I say, in as far as I am aware, the information is that there are 17 points difference, 16 to gain after today. So Tom needs to gain at least 1 point to take the championship to tomorrow. Here is the track then. You've seen Sector 1. This is Sector 2, quite a technical part of this track containing turns 6 through 11. It's quite undulating here in Mugello. And the final turn is really, really critical because how you take that final turn determines how good a speed you can have in the on the start-finish straight. So absolutely critical.
2023 was a year full of emotion and success for Ferrari. Let's relive together the 2 historical victories of endurance season. And for this reason, here with us at Mugello, there is the 499P, which broke the prancing horse back to the top of the podium on 24 hours of Le Mans after a race full of twists and turns, obtaining in this way the 10th overall victory. From the Circuit de la Sarthe to Green Hell of Germany, Ferrari for the first time in his history has also conquered with the 296 GT3 the 24 hour of Nürburgring, surrounded by many fans.
Yes, what an epic year it has been. And the epicness, if there is such a word, will continue across the course of the races this weekend. We have 2 championship concluding races for Ferrari Challenge, and then, of course, the big world final race to come on Sunday here at the Finale Mondiale event in Mugello. There is the Alessio Donno car, which is going from P2 on the grid because Tom Fleming did a brilliant job in qualifying, and he goes from P1. You can see Ben Valint and Adrian Sutil there, and they are preparing to go from the second row of the grid with Szymon Ladniak going from P5 on the grid. We have a mix of Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers. How can you identify them? Well, the Pirelli drivers and the Pirelli cars have got a red strip across the top of the windscreen. The AM drivers have a white strip across the top of the windscreen. And this is our pole-sitting man, Tom Fleming, then driving for HRO in FF Corsa, who found the conditions, some very wet conditions in qualifying, absolutely to his liking, and banked both the fastest lap and the second fastest lap to give him pole position in both of the championship concluding races. Alessio Donno had more of a torrid time in qualifying, and he, as you can see, is going from P2. There is Alessio Donno then quietly contemplating the 30-minute race to come as we take our way down the rest of the pack here. You can see Hanno Laskowski to your left-hand side. It was Hendrik Viol alongside him. Then we see the number 3 car of Max Mugelli to our right. To our left is the number 8 car of Nicolo Rossi for Kessel Racing. James Owen with the yellow number 26 door, which is right in front of our camera to our left-hand side. And alongside James Owen is Andrew Morrow, the champion from the UK, who joins us this weekend here in the Ferrari Challenge Finale Mondiale event here in Mugello. And Ben Valint then in the number 86 car. Benz has had a really good season. Perhaps he's not had as many wins as he would like. He's only taken 1 win, but by Jiminy, he's had something like 4 P2s, if my memory serves me correctly. So he would desperately like to add a win here in Mugello to his tally of successes this season. So the Richard Mills safety car will be leading the cars away off on their formation lap, and we will get this 30-minute Trofeo Pirelli race underway. Let's bring you the grid in full, in graphics and in voice. And here it comes then. Going from pole position, Thomas Fleming, P1. Alessio Dono, P2. That's the first row of the grid. To the second row, where we find Bens Valint and Adrian Sutil. They go from P3 and P4. To the third row of the grid, which is containing Simon Ladniak and an awesome qualifying from the best of the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers, Mohamed Hamdi. Well done, Mohamed, P1. Then it's Franz Engstler and Yuda Uchida. They go from P7 and P8. Franz Engstler, of course, has already secured the Trofeo Pirelli Am Championship. Then it's Nobuhiro Imada and Marco Zanazzi. They are P9 and P10 with Hanno Laskowski and Hendrik Viol, P11 and P12. To the seventh row of our Trofeo Pirelli grid right now, where we find Nicolo Rossi and perhaps out of position Max Mugello, Trofeo Pirelli driver, going from P14 overall. James Owen and Andrew Morrow, two British drivers side by side, P15 and P16. To the ninth row, it's Andreas Berg Sorensen and Danilo Del Favaro, P17 and P18. Matthias Toman and Ruslan Sadriyev go from P19 and P20, completing the 10th row. And on the 11th row, it's Otto Blank and Kim Eriksson for Luik Sportivo Herta Racing and Formula Racing, respectively. Nick Haller and Germano Salanatina go from P23 and P24. And then it's Nicolo Daniello and Gianmarco Mazzialetti that go from P25 and P26. Concluding our grid lineup then for the Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am race, I'm delighted to welcome alongside me one of my all-time racing heroes, Tony Vilander. Tony, you and I get to share the microphone on a number of Ferrari events, and there's nothing quite like a finale mondiale.
It is true. It is challenging week in general. A lot of track time, a lot of testing, and then everything, the top of the cake, it's Sunday, the finals. But before that, we get final races of the different championships, different Ferrari championships around the world. All these cars come together. And going to today's start, what we're seeing here with Trofeo Pirelli, track conditions are not easy because, as we see, there's not a lot of rain, but the rain tires, to work properly, they need a certain amount of water on track. And now it seems like it will be up to the drivers managing the tires and also the teams together with the drivers what tire pressure they chose for this race.
Presumably, Tony, with your years and years and years of top racing experience, you will tell me that drivers will probably be looking for different lines to keep those tyres in a good operational window.
It is true that we can see on the straight lines where there's more standing water. As soon as drivers feel like the lateral grip is not there anymore, they try to cool down the tires, and there will be a big challenge for the drivers to maintain a good grip, good handling of the car, because like I said, the condition is not for the slick tires, but it's not really about the rain tires as well. So it will be a really difficult race. Even for pro drivers, this is not easy conditions.
Thank you so much. We'll be hearing from Tony Vilander during the course of the race. He'll bring us his expert view. And the Richard Mills safety car allows the cars behind to grid up side by side in that formation. And then it will peel off into the pit lane, and it will be the responsibility of Tom Fleming and Alessio Dono to control the pace of the rolling start. There you can see the Richard Mills safety car is disappearing up the road right now. Stand by. Trofeo Pirelli Am, all together in one race with the Trofeo Pirelli title still to be decided this weekend. Hold on to your hats. We're about to go racing. The red lights go out. It's a good start from Tom Fleming. Less of a good start from Alessio Dono. Pit bogged down just a little bit at the start. All that spray makes visibility for anyone that's not in P1 really, really difficult as they head in towards turn number one. Bens Valint on the outside of Tom Fleming here, and Alessio Dono tucking in behind Bens Valint. Already making moves is Simon Ladniak in the all-yellow car. You can see him. One has gone around. I think that's Franz Engstler that's gone. So Hanno Laskowski caught out in that as well. Franz Hengstler stuck right in the middle of that pack of cars. And Alessio Dono is going backwards. Tom Fleming going forwards. He nailed the start absolutely perfectly. All the cars making their way through turns 1 and 2 relatively unscathed. I hope Franz Hengstler, and I think it was Franz Hengstler that was turned around, he's able to get going again. And here we can see Alessio Dono now is behind Adrian Sutil. Let's ride on board with him now. And the spray that comes off the cars in front of you, we can see on our onboard camera here, which makes visibility really, really tricky for the drivers. Yuda Uchida is leading in terms of Trofeo Pirelli AM, and sure enough, Franz Hengstler has dropped right back down to the P21, 22 position. In fact, Franz Hengstler right at the back, and now is that Hanno Laskowski going for a ride across the grass? No, it isn't. It is the number 14 car of Nobuhiro Imada for Rosso Scudieri. So Nobuhiro then has found the tyre barriers. He's on the grass now. Hopefully he'll be able to get the car going once again. We've got localized yellow at turn number 7 for that car, which is in the grass there. And Alessio Dono and Tom Fleming really beginning to stretch his legs right now, and has already built up a margin of some 2 or 3 seconds over the rest of the pack. Of course, he's got all the work to do, and he's got to maximize his points. All he can do, no more than that. And Nobuhiro Imada then dropping way down the order, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen on the graphics there. So tricky conditions, as Tony Verlander indicated right at the start of the race. And of course, the tyre's not quite up to temperature. Now the battle for P2 is between Ben Svalint and Adrian Sutil and this man, Alessio Dono. And we ride once again on board with Alessio Dono around that final turn, where the line you take through that turn at the final turn sets you up perfectly for the start-finish straight. But of course, the line you take may well be compromised by the grip that is available to you. And across the start-finish line they all go then, and Tom Fleming has built up in the space of 1 lap, Tony Verlander, a margin of 4.188 seconds. That's a really good showing on the first lap.
Yes, what an impressive opening lap. Shows that the leading driver, Thomas Fleming, has really confidence in his car, but also these conditions. Other 3 drivers, what we see here, their pace is pretty similar, but as we can see, the leading driver really opened a huge gap only on the first lap.
Tony, what is it like? You've sat in racing cars for hundreds of years and been so successful and won so many races in wet weather races. You know, this visibility, it also makes it tricky as well. If you're following a car and you've got all that spray coming off, that must make it more difficult for you.
Yeah, it's quite tricky because you're still learning the conditions on track. You need to avoid other cars, not hitting the other cars, braking points in general, where you need to concentrate on many things. And I think with this thing we
have a safety car.
Yeah, we will have a safety car, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, there we have it. I think it's the Kim Eriksson car that is in the gravel there that is out on. And once the car is in the gravel, there's no digging it out there, because the gravel trap does exactly what it's supposed to do. It absorbs all the speed and stops the car, and that then means that we have a safety car situation in the early stages of this race, which disadvantages this man, Tom Fleming, who built up such a great margin. And all of a sudden that's gone away, hasn't it, Tony?
Yeah, the margin is gone. And here we can see the start again. I think the lights went off relatively late. Okay. The group was all together. But second place driver, Alessio Dono, didn't have a good start. He was side by side to the leading car, and in acceleration he lost a little bit of time. And as we can see already, other cars are challenging him before the turn 1. So he had to avoid the fact that being ahead of the leading car, pole position car, yeah. So that compromised Alessio's start a little bit, and as a result he was dropped down to P4. You can see in turn 1, 2 cars spinning. One of them was Hengstler, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And shows that the conditions out there are pretty tricky.
And there we could see the number 14 car then of Nobuhiro Imada making a trip into the tyre barriers. Tell me, Tony, when you're coming up on a rolling start like this, do you try and anticipate when you think the lights are going to go? Because you know you want to optimize your start, but of course it is, you know, race direction, choose when that light goes.
Yeah, it's true, but on this occasion, obviously the pole, so the B1 starting car has an advantage because he can choose the actual speed before the lights go off.
Yes.
The P2 driver needs to be careful because obviously he wants a good start, but he cannot be too early in front of the leading car. So then you're your beautiful qualifying pace is penalized with the jump start.
Okay, yeah.
P3 starting driver is the first of the drivers who can anticipate a little bit. He has the reference of the P1 pole starting car, so he can anticipate with the speed. There's always a fine margin. Leave a little bit of space, and how the foot goes down with the throttle. But all these things you need to be really careful, because I've been a few times in the Ferrari Challenge race director advising or saying a driver's opinion. They really monitor the starts.
Yes.
They want to see the gaps, and they want the gaps to be close and not to get an advantage of leaving a gap, accelerating earlier than the lights go off. So it's all really fine margins to get everything right.
Okay, now the Live Drivers' Championship, if it were to stay this way, Alessio Donno would go into tomorrow's race with a 12-point advantage, which isn't enough for him to seal the championship today. So Tom Fleming, and he's in this really, really difficult position where all he can do is max out his points haul. He can only win the race. He can only take a point for the fastest lap. He is reliant on Alessio Donno not scoring too many points, and that's always a difficult situation, because actually the end result is not in your gift anymore. You're reliant on another driver effectively not gaining as many points as potentially he could.
Yeah, I see this a little bit differently. I see Donno has Alessio has a lot to lose.
Oh, right.
And I feel Thomas can go flat out. He's behind in points, so he can really nail it down with the performance and trying to win as much as he can, trying to create as many points, and then it's down to Alessio to do a good job. Now he's in P4, there's a lot more risks, how to overtake the guy in P3, how to be second in the race. So I see this a little bit differently. Being P2 in the championship, no pressure. Leading, coming to the final races of the season, a lot of pressure.
Thank you, Tony Villander. We're so glad you're alongside us, giving us a racing driver's eye perspective on how things are playing out there. So, safety car is going to come in at the conclusion of this lap, and we are going to go back to racing. And it's down to Tom Fleming to control the pace of the restart. And Ben Svalint is going to try and anticipate when Tom Fleming is going to give it 100% on the loud pedal. And, of course, Adrian Sutil, Alessio Donno, Yuda Uchida, all going to try and do the same. And as you can see, it's almost pedestrian-like as they go through the second to last turn. Still the chicane to come. You can see that from our drone shot here. And what Tom Fleming can't do, he's not allowed to do, he's not allowed to accelerate and then decelerate. Once he's made the commitment to go for it, he's got to go for it. So Ben Svalint is trying to anticipate when that is going to happen. And Tom Fleming will have, of course, his driver coach, Bobby Thompson, probably on the radio to him saying, right, do it now, do it now, do it now. And he's done it now. So he goes, he gives it everything he can through the final turn now. So we go back to racing once you've crossed the safety car line, not before. You can't overtake until you've crossed that safety car line. And for my money, Tom Fleming did that really, really well. So he's left Ben Svalint a little bit in his wake, and they cross the line and head towards the greens once again. Let's get this race back underway with 21.25 minutes left to run. Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am. Ben Svalint there is flashing his lights furiously as Alessio Donno dives to the inside of Adrian Sutil. Now the inside line through turn number 1 in these conditions, not necessarily the best line. And as you can see, Adrian Sutil, with years and years and years of experience, of course, he was able to close the door on Alessio Donno right royally, and therefore Alessio, as you can see, remains steadfast at the moment in that P4 position as Tom Fleming once again tries to stretch his legs over the rest of the pack, which is the maximum that he can do. It's Yuda Uchida who's leading in Trofeo Pirelli Am ahead of Hendrik Viol, who had an awesome start and finds himself P2 in Pirelli Am with Marco Zanazzi P3 in Pirelli Am. But we're watching the battle for P2, 3 and 4 at the moment in Trofeo Pirelli, and that's between Ben Svalint, Adrian Sutil and Alessio Donno. Cars all come through perfectly okay. Now this is Franz Engstler, who of course turned around on the very, very first turn and is trying to make his way back up the order. Of course, he won the Trofeo Pirelli Am Championship earlier on in the season and comes here with no pressure in terms of championship, but of course he wants to finish as high up the order as he can. Adrian Sutil taking a look at the outside of Ben Svalint, which didn't pay off. Benz has closed the door, And that means Adrian Sutil's going to have another go somewhere. And Alessio Dono is beginning to look a little bit more lively now, if I'm honest with you. And sure enough, he dives to the inside of Adrian Sutil. Just a little bit of a love tap between the two of them. Adrian Sutil tries to come back underneath the Alessio Dono car, but Alessio has enough pace to be able to come through and pick up that P3 place, which is critical in terms of protecting his championship lead. So we will see how Alessio copes with these conditions and the fact that Tom Fleming, lap after lap, is going to try and escape up the road. And already, as we get a live gap as they cross the timing line, it was 3.4 seconds between P1 and P2. As Ben Svalint crosses the timing line now, we can update you and tell you that the gap is up to 4 seconds between P1 and P2. So Tom Fleming then escaping up the road. Here comes Alessio Dono. Now, both Alessio and Ben Svalint, like Tom Fleming, young whippersnappers in terms of driving talent. And here we can see from our onboard perspective how he sold it to Adrian Sutil. He was brave to dive up the inside there because you can almost see Tony Villander, the car understeering through that turn.
Yeah, it was a beautiful overtaking. He got side by side with Adrian Sutil early enough, because I think would have been a struggle later on. And now we see he has a little bit more pace. He's challenging already the driver in P2, who has quite interesting choice of racing lines, driving lines. He tries to really keep it tight in the exit of the corners and trying to avoid the curbs. And oh, this is risky driving now.
It is risky driving, but as Adrian Sutil now took advantage of the fact that Alessio Dono and Ben Svalint were fighting there, and he came through and was able to gain a place. I have to say, Alessio Dono. Very, very good avoidance there from Adrian Sutil. At one point there, Alessio Dono was on the painted lines, which are always more slippery than the tarmac, Tony.
Yeah, it was a tricky part. Also, he went off track and gained advantage. So let's see what the race director and the marshals or the stewards say about this move. The tricky thing is also he cannot let the other driver by, because the driver he overtook went down 2 positions. So it's also tricky to keep the place back. So I hope it was a valid overtaking, and I hope the race continues, but shows the level of grip and shows how on the limit drivers are all the time.
Let's take a look at it again.
Again, you see the P2 driver, the number 86, very tight line on the exit, earlier on brakes, squeezes a little bit Alessio Dono, and here he goes off over the white line with 4 wheels. So let's see.
I'll tell you what, race controller listening to you, Tony Villander. Car number 19 is under investigation for overtaking off the track.
Yeah, so he went off with 4 wheels.
Well, rules are rules, aren't they? And sometimes they bite you on the bottom. We will see if the investigation comes up with any penalty for Alessio Dono. But at the moment, he stays in that P2 position. Now, of course, Ben Svalint wants to come back to Adrian Sutil here, because in that melee, Adrian Sutil was able to take advantage and get through on Ben Svalint. So we will see. We'll keep you updated. All that information comes to us on our data screens. And at the moment, it is Tom Fleming, Alessio Dono. There's 6.5 seconds between P1 and P2. Of course, we saw the live championship points. And if everything stayed the way it does at the moment, the championship would still go to the final race tomorrow. So the gap, as you can see, 6.7 seconds now with, where are we? Just 16 minutes of the race remaining. Almost half the race is already gone. Part of that, of course, was behind the safety car. There's Nicolo Rossi, who is fighting hard there. Nicolo Rossi is running in that P10 position in the race overall. He's P4 in Trofeo Pirelli AM. The AM drivers being led by Yuda Uchida. Then it is then it is Hendrik Vial. Then it is Marco Zanazzi. They are the top 3. Mohamed Hamdi, who of course started in that pole position, dropping down the order. And Franz Engsler has done so much overtaking. He is back into P8 already, having been turned around in turn number 1. He's done a good job in terms of overtaking as many cars as he can to try and get himself back up the order, Tony.
Yeah, he has done a great race. Checking on the lap times, the leading car, Thomas Fleming, is really on his own pace. He's 2 seconds faster in the last lap as everybody else. After that, there is quite consistent lap times between 2:14 to 2:18. But the leading car is really, you can see from the handling of the car, he's sliding less, he's braking a bit later than the other drivers, and his car with the tires is working really, really well.
Everyone tells me in these conditions, if you can be super smooth, it's going to be the quickest way around this track in these conditions. And at the moment, Tom Fleming is more than super smooth, as Tony has said, 7 seconds to the good over Alessio Dono. And here is Franz Enkler then, continuing his quest to try and get up the order. He's on the inside of the number 7 car of Mohammed Hamdi, and it looked like he was going to be able to go through. We can see here the number 2 car of Yuda Uchida, who is leading in Trofeo Pirelli and for Rosso Scudiera. Doing a good job is Yuda Uchida, and he is leading Hendrik Viol, who is P2, and Marco Zanazzi, who is running in P3. So 2 separate categories, of course, racing in the same race. The Pirelli drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen, the Pirelli AM drivers with the white strip across the top of the windscreen. We're keeping you up to date with the orders in each of the categories by the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. And did I see Alessio Dono losing out there? So he's been told to give that position back, Tony. But of course, it's double bubble disaster for him because, as you mentioned, he's had to give effectively 2 places back.
Yeah, that costs really much for his race. But this is down to the start. He lost places earlier on and then had to risk more to make these overtakings happening. That was a beautiful overtaking earlier with Adrian Sutil, but the other overtaking went too much. He went off 4 wheels over the white line, and this is the penalty. I think it's a good call in general from the race director to be able to give him chance back to race instead of giving him 10 seconds or stop and go or drive through penalty. That would end his race totally.
Yep.
But this is a good way to keep the race alive.
Okay, so
yeah, he let the other cars by, and after that, I think there's no further action.
So that information would have come from his team, do you think, Tony?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think earlier we could see the pit wall talking probably with the race director or with the stewards. So I think this was suggested by them, and I think it's a good call because this way you can still continue the race. If you give a drive-through in a 30-minute race,
you've had it, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like parking the car, basically.
Yeah. We just saw a shot of Tom Fleming's family. Now, of course, they're delighted about that news, aren't they? We will get a live update in terms of the points, I'm sure, shortly. So Tom Fleming leading now by 10.2 seconds. Now, he is chasing down this man that we can see, braking hard into turn number 1 now, who is now in P4. So the points haul, Tom Fleming is maximising, because I noticed, Tony, when we were discussing that Tom Fleming has just set the fastest lap as well. So he can do no more than win the race, take a fastest lap. That's the maximum points that he can take.
Yeah, I think the race is in a situation now that if earlier on he had no pressure, he could really deliver those fast lap times. But now he needs to also monitor the gap he has.
Yes.
Now it would be useless to do a mistake. So now I think it's down to managing the last 10 to 11 minutes and try to bring the car to checkered flag P1 and maybe in control of checking the fastest lap times with the information from his team.
Yes.
And this is now down to management, in my opinion.
So you just saw the Live Drivers' Championship. Now the gap between P1 and P2 in the championship would be down to 11 points. It would make for a fantastic race tomorrow, that's for sure, where I remind you that once again Tom Fleming will be starting on pole position because he did the 2nd fastest lap in qualifying as well. So the HRO and FF Corsa driver, who is currently P1, doing a very good job. He's doing the best job that he can. It's down to the rest. And we can see Mohammed Hamdi there, the SL Arab Automotive Company driver, who's currently running P13 overall. It's P7 within class. And here comes Franz Enkler, who's going to come calling on the back of Mohammed Hamdi right now, as Franz Enkler desperately wants to get himself back into a good points-paying position. It's academic because he's already won the Trofeo Pirelli AM Championship, but if you're a racing driver, you want to do the best job you can, and he is certainly doing that right now. Number 9 car that you can see there is driven by Danilo Del Favaro, the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver. And we've got just over 10 minutes of this Trofeo Pirelli race remaining. There is Franz Hengstler. Look, just taking a look at the inside there. But that line not optimized in these conditions at the moment. So Franz is really having to pick and choose where he makes his overtake, and he's done plenty of them. The battle for P4 is between Nicolo Rossi, as you can see, and also Andrew Morrow, Danilo Del Favero, Mohamed Hamdi. And delighted to see Andrew Morrow racing in the Ferrari Challenge here in Europe, having sealed the UK Championship earlier on this year. My privilege to be part of that championship as well. The order is Tom Fleming, Adrian Sutil, Ben Valint. In Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am, it's Yuda Uchida, Hendrik Viol, and Marco Zanazzi. Here is Alessio Dono then, taking Ben Valint, as we can see on... Oh, no, he didn't. Ben's had got a good exit from that turn. So Ben Valint continues to fight, and he's in a podium-paying position at the moment, and he wants to stay in that podium position if he can. So defending very hard, and you can see that Alessio Dono is perhaps getting a tad frustrated. And the thing is now that Alessio is some 14 seconds behind the race leader. With only just under 9 minutes remaining, that's a big ask. Even if he were able to get past the next two cars, you know, that's a big, big gap.
Yeah, it's difficult decisions for this young driver right now, because also the overtaking on a car 86, you cannot risk, you cannot have a contact, and you need to have a clean overtaking. I think now he's really side by side, similar overtaking like he did with Adrian Sutil earlier on.
At that time he's done it, hasn't he?
Yeah, let's see the exit. Yeah, it was close.
Well, let's take a break in the action, because down there in the pit lane, I understand, is Ludovica.
Thank you, guys. I've told a few seconds later with Gianmarco Marzialetti for his race. Yesterday he made a very good qualification, but today with this condition, with this weather condition, and the track is very, very hard. It was very hard for him, and otherwise they have technical problems. So for this reason he needs to stop, and now his focus is on Finali Mondiali and race 2 for tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Ludovica. So Gianmarco Mazzaretti then, and there is Alessio Dono now, who finds himself in at least a podium place, his P3. Look how he's fighting with that car, because the conditions are still difficult. In replay here, Ben Valint didn't gift it to him, Tony.
No, it was again tight battle that started earlier on, overtaking to a next corner, right-hand side wheels a little bit off the track. But also Alessio's car is really sliding. Like you said, he's really fighting the steering wheel all the time. You could see also earlier on in the race, Arrabbiata 1 and 2, his car was always sideways. So a little bit of improvements also needed on his car to have a similar grip on rain tires as the leading driver, Thomas Fleming, has.
So that's the team. They've got to look at that now. Car number 2, which is the leading Trofeo Pirelli Am driver, has got a 5-second time penalty for track limits. And we have got Andreas Berg Sorensen in the gravel. That's going to be a safety car for sure, because the car is stuck there. I was just going to say that with a time penalty of 5 seconds, that could threaten Yuda Uchida's lead, depending on what margin he has over Hendrik Viol. But right now, it's the worst possible time when you've got a time penalty. It's the worst thing you want to know is a safety car, because that's it, isn't it? He's lost the lead of this race.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult to build a gap that overcomes the penalty you got earlier on. Also an extra tension if there is a possible restart. Those are the situations where you can have is a higher possibility for contacts in general. So let's see how quickly they can clear out the car from turn 1, and what happens with the safety car. Is it only 1 lap and it comes straight in, because we have less than 6 minutes to the checkered flag?
You're absolutely right. So it's all going to be down to the very efficient recovery team here at Mugello in terms of getting that stricken Andreas Berg Sorensen car out of the gravel, as the safety car has been called for. Of course, another big loser in that is Tom Fleming. who had built a margin of 10.1 seconds over anybody else. And all of a sudden, Adrian Sutil and Alessio Dono are going to be right on the back of Tom Fleming. Now, he's done it once from a safety car, and once again, he's rebuilt that lead that he's had. But you can't help but feel for him, really, because he'd done everything perfectly. And you can see now, depending on how quickly they are in recovering that stricken Andreas Berg Sorensen car. Now, Tom, for a young man, and like Alessio for a young man, extraordinary maturity they have in not allowing stress and pressure to really impact and affect them. But this is not what he needed, Tony.
Yeah, he built a huge gap twice, and now he needs to do the whole procedure again. Also, one thing, when you get a safety car sign,
yeah,
it is the right call to slow down. But if he had accelerated a little bit, gone past the pit exit, he would have gained more time, the safety car, to settle down everything. Now he really slowed down, and now, you know, then it would have taken more to this safety car procedure. So these are small strategic tactics,
yes,
things like this that driver always need to think without risking anything else, obviously. When you get a safety car sign, you need to slow down, but it's not really determined how much.
Oh, okay.
So one of those things is to always monitor different options, you know.
See, we get the inside line to all this information, having someone like Tony alongside us. We're seeing here a repeat of Alessio Dono's overtakes. The first repeat you saw was when he got penalised for that. Well, he didn't get penalised, actually, because the team told him to give the place back, which I think, as Tony indicated, was a very wise thing, because it allowed them to still be in control, not waiting for race direction to make a decision, which might have not been quite as kind to him. And then we saw the second overtake, which, even though he started grass cutting as well, he'd still got two wheels on the tarmac. Get your facts right, Dave. So that was perfectly legal. So he has got himself back into that P3 position. Now, we've got just 3 minutes remaining. I'd love to know how we're getting on with the recovery of the Andreas Berg Sorensen car. Safety car is coming in this lap. It's like they're listening to me. So we are going to go back to racing. And once again, Tom has got to do it all over again in terms of this safety car restart with his championship contender very much more close to him than he was, Tony.
Yeah, Alessio Dono, normally you analyze the races afterwards. Now we still have a few laps to go when we get green. But his struggle has been since the start. The places he lost at the start, he has tried to fight back all the time. And that created the mistake where he was penalized, or he had to give actually two places back. Thomas Fleming so far has been really the dominant force of the race. Built twice a gap of 10 seconds, opening laps minus 4 seconds to the competitors. So the prediction is that Thomas is going to handle this, but every time a restart, new risks, new scenarios. So let's see how this plays out.
Right, we are going to be down to probably 1 or 2 racing laps, I would suggest, before the clock has gone to 0. So let's see how we do. Yuda Uchida is a big loser in this because, of course, Hendrik Viol with the time penalty. It could be Hendrik Viol's first race win for Scuderia Prague, and that would be richly deserved, to be honest with you. Let's see how we do then as... Right now, we go back to racing again, and Adrian Sutil is trying to get by Tom Fleming. Adrian Sutil anticipated really well when he was going to go for it. I mean, Tom Fleming. So with the safety car in, we go back to racing, and we cross the timing line with 1.5 minutes to go. All of a sudden, Tony Verlander, this has been turned upside down. Here comes Alessio Dono. So... Adrian Sutil, Tom Fleming. Tom Fleming's door opens now as Adrian Sutil makes a little bit of contact with Tom Fleming. What looked like it was a shoe-in for Tom Fleming. He's in all sorts of strife now, battling with Adrian Sutil, who's got the wind underneath the car, that's for sure, and Alessio Dono trying to take advantage as well. All of a sudden, this championship chase is being turned on its backside as Alessio Dono tries to find a way by. Adrian Sutil and Tom Fleming still charging at each other. Alessio Dono also in there, and here comes Ben Svalint to try and take advantage as well. So what a race this is, with Adrian Sutil now through, and Dare I say it, Alessio Dono has gone through also. So now Tom Fleming, who had a 10-second advantage before the safety car, finds himself in P3. Tony Verlander, disaster for him.
We saw really aggressive Adrian Sutil, but the race is not over. There is more action.
You're right, as Ben Svalin tries to have a go as well. And you can see Yuda Uchida, what he's trying to do is build a 5-second time advantage over his pursuer so that he retains that Trofeo Pirelli Am win. Wow.
Incredible restart.
So the points haul, if it stays this way, all of a sudden changes with a 13-point advantage to Alessio Dono. It's still not enough, by my reckoning, but nonetheless, he's in a stronger position than he was. That's for sure. It's Adrian Sutil from Alessio Dono from Tom Fleming. Then it's Yuda Uchida, Ben Svalin, Simon Ladniak, and Hendrik Viol. And Yuda Uchida has built enough of a margin in Trofeo Pirelli Am over Hendrik Viol that the 5-second time penalty is not going to impact or affect him. As we start the final lap. No, we don't. That was the final lap because the checkered flag is unfurled to see Adrian Sutil take his first win of the season. Alessio Dono P2, Tom Fleming P3. My goodness me. Yuda Uchida holds on to that win in Trofeo Pirelli Am. Then it's Hendrik Viol and Nicolo Rossi on the podium again. I didn't expect that, Tony.
Yeah, surprised to see very determined and aggressive drive from Adrian Sutil. He fought several corners side by side with Thomas Fleming, who then lost the place to him. Not only to him, but also Alessio Dono. So a dramatic end to the race with at least 2 safety cars and a lot of action. And obviously, P3 finishing Thomas Fleming must be really disappointed because basically he dominated this race event for 28 minutes and then he lost it just at the last restart.
Well, you can see the celebrations down there in the pit, on the pit wall, and that is because we think the points haul is now sufficient for Alessio Dono to become champion. We think the live championship graphics were wrong. So we think, from our calculations, that Alessio Dono has done enough to seal the championship. That's how close it was. That is all to be confirmed. We will check and we will double check, but I just get the impression from the information that I have and also the way that the team of Radici Automobili were celebrating down there on the pit lane that somehow our graphics points indication was wrong and that he's done enough.
One note also to the last restart, Thomas Fleming's door opened.
Yes.
And he closed it between turn 1 and 2.
Right.
So he lost a little bit of momentum, and that's when Adrian Sutil was able to go side by side with him. There was some wheel-to-wheel, door-to-door banging, but he lost a little bit of momentum, having to concentrate and close the door.
Oh. Well, I would suggest, Tony Verlander.
At least the celebration is there in a way that...
Well, 2023 champion is confirmed on our screens. So Alessio Dono has done it. And, well, I'll tell you what, congratulations, young man. You didn't make it easy for yourself.
Yeah, it was a busy race, emotion roller coaster, but beautiful, beautiful victory and we have a new champion.
Wow. Wow, you can see. I mean, he's a man of few words, if I'm honest with you. Stefano Guy there congratulating him. He's a man of few words. And most of the words that he does utter are in Italian, so I don't always understand what he's saying. But he has done it. And, I mean, he gave himself a mountain to climb, but he climbed it. And that means, Tony, that that's the mark of a talented young man, isn't it?
Yeah, some of the great talents of our sport are not really big media personalities, at least men of many words. They let the skill and talent and lap time talk for the performance, and here we see also the emotion of the other side.
Yeah, and that's team boss Ed Barton Hilton, who's just trying to just offer words of encouragement to Tom Fleming. I mean, Tom really did everything that he could do. It's just the cards that were dealt to him in the final part of the race were really, really tricky. Really tricky. I have to be honest, I think, and look at this, he goes across and he congratulates Alessio Dono. So car number 5, the driver of car number 5 is being asked to report immediately to the stewards. I was about to say to you, Adrian was pretty physical, wasn't he, Tony? I mean, you know, he's a former Formula 1 driver. I mean,
Yeah, you mentioned that this was his first win of the season.
I think. Let me double check. I mean,
yeah, so
no, it will be his first win.
yeah,
Well,
you could definitely see that he felt that the victory was in his hands, and this time he didn't want to give it away, and he was really fighting for it.
well, he's being invited to report immediately to the stewards. Does Tony, you've been in the stewards' room enough times. Does that mean anything's going to change? I don't think so, is it?
Hopefully not. I think in the end it was still, I would say, a racing fight. The grip is very low. When you attempt for overtaking maneuver, cars are sliding more than on dry, slick tire condition. So when you go tight into a corner, you tend to slide way wider towards the exit of the corner. So let's see.
Okay, so Adrian Sutil takes the win from Alessio Dono and Tom Fleming. And then for the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, Yuda Uchida, Hendrik Viol and Nicolo Rossi. Our new Trofeo Pirelli champion is Alessio Dono.
Adrian, what a race. Congratulations for your first victory in this season. Was a very tough race in a very bad condition, and you made a spectacular finals of this race.
Yes, it was a quite exciting race actually, with the safety car, and the first couple of laps was very difficult as always to find the right rhythm in the rain and know where you can go or where it's not possible to go because the water is standing. So until I settled in, there was quite a lot of fighting. I could go up to second place. And then for me, good luck that the safety car came. Is always a risk and gamble for everybody, but I saw an opportunity in the first corner, went for it, and we went side by side to a lot of corners, bumping to each other because it was very slippery. But I think in the end, yeah, I had the final better exit out of the corner, and I could finish the race as first position. Very good.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
So Adrian Sutil celebrating his first win in Trofeo Pirelli.
Sì, abbiamo il traduttore.
Trofeo Pirelli AM, Yuda Uchida for Rosso Scudieri then. He got, as I say, a time penalty, but in the end was able to build up sufficient margin where the time penalty was not going to impact his result. And let's hear from Yuda Uchida with Ludovica.
We have a double interview today for Yudi. Have a good race here at Mugello, and he made his first victory.
で、このムジェロで初めてのウィニングですけど、どうでしょうか?
Yes, I'm very happy to win. Today is rain condition and a tough race, but be careful and. I'm very nervous, but very push. Yes, yeah.
Was very hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well done, Yuda Uchida. So there we have it then, and here are the race statistics then. Fastest lap came from Tom Fleming for Trofeo Pirelli. For Trofeo Pirelli Am, it was Yuda Uchida. Total overtakes, look at that. Trofeo Pirelli Am, 107. In Trofeo Pirelli, 29. All powered by AWS. Follow us on at Ferrari Races. Please, we would love you to be part of the family. So we're going to be heading up to the podium next for Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am. So podium being readied, we can already hear Michele Mambelli then trying to hustle the drivers out towards the podium then for their podium celebrations. Trofeo Pirelli, first of all, taking P3, Tom Fleming. One of the first to go and congratulate Alessio Dono. Very mature young man, well done. Alessio Dono then, he takes P2, but of course does enough to seal the championship. And then on the top step of the podium, here comes Adrian Sutil. And there you can see Ines Ruel from Baron Motorsport there representing the Go Baron Motorsport team.
Il nostro applauso per questo podio Trofeo
plays out.
E presentiamo i trofei d'onore con piacere. Abbiamo sul podio Miguel Molina, Ferrari, Official GT Driver. Il trofeo d'onore per il terzo classificato, Miguel Molina per
Miguel Molina is here to make the trophy presentation, first of all, to Tom Fleming. Up next is Alessio Dono.
Per Eliseo Dondo, secondo sul podio. E il trofeo del vincitore per Adrian Sutil.
Adrian Sutil. He takes the race winner's trophy.
Miguel, il trofeo, prego Miguel, il trofeo per il team Gome Motorsport, team Baron Motorsport per Ines Ruel.
Ines Ruel then receives the trophy from Miguel as well for the team.
Pirelli con il nostro Lucio Vergani, Pirelli Motorsport Manager.
And Lucio Vergani is here to make the Pirelli presentation to Adrian Sutil.
Prego anche Lucio e Miguel vicino ai vincitori. And please together drivers.
So the drivers all to get together on the top step of the podium and hold their trophies up high. Adrian Sutil, Alessio Dono and Tom Fleming. I remind you that Alessio Dono has done enough in that race to seal the Trofeo Pirelli Championship. Valiant effort from Tom Fleming. And who's going to win the champagne race? Well, we won't know because we're seeing the top three cars right now. HRO and FF Corsa for Tom Fleming. Taking P2, then the Radici Automobili engineered car is Alessio Dono, and then the top step of the podium belonging to our race winner Adrian Sutil for Gome Baron Motorsport. Now, 2023 Trofeo Pirelli champion is Alessio Dono. Didn't win the race, but won the championship. That P2 enough to take him to the top step of the championship podium. In the Drivers' Championship points, as you can see, 19 points ahead of Tom Fleming. Max Mugello finishing the championship P3 ahead of Benz Valent. Right now, it's time for the Trofeo Pirelli AM podium, which will contain Nicola Rossi, Hendrik Viol, and Yudai Uchida. There's Hendrik. What a purple patch Hendrik is having.
Yudai Uchida.
Here comes Yudai Uchida then onto the top step of the podium. Embraced and congratulated by Nicola Rossi and Hendrik Viol. And national anthem to play out then for Yudai Uchida, represented by Rosso Scudieri, the team as well.
Il nostro applauso anche per questo podio Pirelli.
And the trophy presentations then. Once again, Miguel Molina is called upon to make the trophy presentations, I believe.
Il trofeo per il terzo classificato, Miguel che consegna il trofeo a Nicola Rossi. Il trofeo per il pilota in seconda posizione, Hendrik Viol.
So Hendrik Viol receives his trophy. Nicola Rossi is already in possession of his. And here comes Yudai Uchida. So the top three, Yudai Uchida, Hendrik Viol, and Nicola Rossi. So delight down there. Lucio Vergani is here to make the Pirelli presentation, also to Yudai.
Yudai Uchida.
So there you can see the trophies being held aloft. All the drivers get together on the top step of the podium. And here are the cars that took their drivers to the respective podium places. Kessel Racing, Nicola Rossi. Scuderia Prague for Hendrik Viol, take P2. And it's Rosso Scudiera who have engineered the Yudai Uchida victory here in Mugello. He takes P1. So there we have it then. Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, race one of the final championship race is done and dusted. Here's confirmation of the Drivers' Championship points in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli AM, with Franz Hengstler unassailable on 167 points, Hanno Laskowski P2 and Nicola Rossi P3 in the Drivers' Championship points for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli AM. Of course, Franz Hengstler sealing the championship in a previous race. Came here already as a championship winner. And now, of course, we have the Pirelli Championship winner as well in Eliseo Dono. So thank you so much for watching, and here come the highlights of our race, and we'll see you for another race from Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli tomorrow. Bye-bye for now. Cheers.